Well, hello, my YouTube fellas and gals. Look at this book. Look at that cover. Okay. Anyways, I own a used bookstore for people who are new to my channel, and I actually sell reading books and books that crafters can use. So, on that note, you can get a hold of me through Tammy's Makeup Treats with an S. Don't forget, pay it behind Tammy at gmail.com. Or you can join my Facebook at Minda's Bookstore and more and let me know if you're interested in buying a book. If not, you own a Kindle and a Nook. These are nice references for you to go look up and price and put on your gadget. So with that, and I also ship media. So you get the cheapest and I link it through my Etsy store, which I will send you the link via email or messenger and then or give you the name of my shop and you can go look it up and it'll say special order for so and so. So, on that note, this book is called Inside Africa. This is the first book in the educational section, and I do mix things up. I'm not the library. So, you will see autobiographies and all that to me is educational because it's a person's life story and experiences that they want to share. You'll see a variety in my educational section. But to me, what I consider educational may not be what others do, but that's how I prioritize my store. So, with the first book, we have this is by John Gunther. This is actually a 1955 copyright. Nice pages, very nice pages. And this is the end pages, which is really awesome. And if there's any crafters that's watching this is kind of like falling apart a little bit and it's a little grungy, so this can also be turned into a junk journal. So these books today will be hardbacks and softbacks mixed, and they're $2 each. So this book is about, since I don't have a synopsis with this because there's no cover, which some don't. Some I look up and I'll rate them, but they have contents, I don't need to. You have the dark continent becoming light, the Sultan of Morocco, Moroccan backdrop, Arab world in North Africa, the French, the nationalists, the Americans, Lord of the Atlas, Tangier and Tetuan, brief word about Algeria, inside nowhere, the Sahara, and it goes on down to Kenya, Hope, Crisis in Uganda, and then you have part two, which takes you to the Dakar, I don't know that word, in French, West Africa. So this is really, really, really cool. It's a really cool book. So with that, this is book number 1 and lot number 1. Book number 2, we have Barack and Michelle, Portrait of an American Marriage. This is a 2009 copyright. This is what the book looks like. Nice hardback. There's pictures in it. And this is what it's about. They exploded onto the world scene and within a matter of a few short years captured the ultimate political prize. In so doing, they became a first couple like no other. He, the biracial son of a free-spirited Kansas-born woman, and a mercurial Kenyan father who abandoned him at an early age. Was raised in Hawaii and Indonesia, educated at Columbia and Harvard, and launched his political career in America's heartland. She, by contrast, was the product of a solid. I cannot. Solidly middle American family with roots planted firmly in Chicago's working class South Side, paving the way for her to achieve her dreams of an Ivy League education and a position at one of the nation's top firms. By the time they claimed the White House in one of the most hotly contested presidential races in modern history, Barack and Michelle Obama were seen by millions around the world as the new Jack and Jackie Kennedy. Brilliant, attractive, elegant, youthful, exciting, accompanied by their 2 young daughters, Malaya and Sasha. The Obamas would arrive at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue with the promise of New Camelot all but assured. Given the obvious historical significance of what we have to accomplish together, the marriage of Barack and Michelle stands as one of the great personal and political partnerships in American history. Yet, incredibly, the true nature of that relationship has remained a mystery until now. In the style of his #1 New York Times bestseller, The Day Diana Died and The Day John Died, as well as best-selling books about Kennedy, the Clintons, and the Bushes, author Christopher Anderson draws on important sources. So there you go. Book number 2. Book number 3. This here is the Bantam New College German English Dictionary by John C. Trapon, PhD. This is a 1959. And this is what the book looks like. In this book, I do have a synopsis. Few writers have had... Okay, we're going to go clear down here. The Final Diagnosis was the first of Hailey's exciting novels, a story of life and death struggles in a large hospital. It focuses on Joe Pearson, the chief pathologist, who must make the final diagnosis on every patient, eventually on himself. Although it has not yet received the same popular acclaim as its sequel, this novel lacks none of Hailey's immense narrative powers. No admirer of his works will want to miss it. A motion picture version of this novel was entitled The Young Doctors. So there you go. Book number 3. Book number 4. This is one big, thick book. This is the biography of Brando by Peter Manso. And this is what the book looks like. Huge and thick. Oh. Look at that. Look at those pages. So, this is what it's about. For almost half a century, Marlon Brando has been the world's most important living actor, from A Streetcar Named Desire to Wildwood on the Waterfront, The Godfather, and Last Tango in Paris. His immense achievements will long be remembered. All his dramatic persona combined, however, pale in comparison with the real Brando, a man far more tumultuous, whatever that word is, blurb, driven and larger than life than any of the roles he's played. Brando the Biography is the first serious portrait of this remarkable man, capturing both his genius and his shocking private life. From growing up the son of an alcoholic, philandering parents to his recent public agony as a father of a convicted killer, Marlon Brando has lived a life beset by personal demons. Behind the myth, beneath his immense fame and fortune, he is a troubled man with whom few really know. For the first time, Brando unveils him whole. From the height of his talents to the depths of his despair, his sexual compulsions, the endless years of psychotherapy, the girlfriends who've committed suicide, his eating disorders, his notorious psychological manipulations, his lifelong love and hate relationship with his children, legitimate and not, his involvement with the radical American Indian movement, and his controversial seclusion in Tahiti, gripping, astonishing, and utterly revealing. This sounds very, very interesting. So there you go. Book number 4. Book number 5. We have Laughing All the Way, Barbara Howar. Yes, I read on little post-it notes I could take out for receipts. 1973 copyright. That's what the book looks like. Definitely old and aged. This is what it's about. Laughing at myself is what I do best. Lord knows I've had to practice. There is no city like Washington for laughable situations, but it appears to me that I have outdistanced even politicians in my race toward the ridiculous. I wanted to make my mistakes at the top, and I have. You may think it simple to play the fool in a town that pursues the activity with unstrained zeal, but my success was no lucky accident. I have had to work making my blunders account against strong contenders through 4 administrations. Before you dismiss me as deranged for taking lightly all the trouble I've caused or found in Washington, you'd best understand that only somewhat unusual people choose to live in the nation's capital in the first place, and that those of us who know the city and still love it probably certifiable to begin with. It's not with the U.S. government is entirely a comic matter, but to deal in power, ambition, and people driven by both a fine madness and sense of humor are handy things to have. My problem was that I seldom able to distinguish between reasonable and unreasonable merriment and the chances of good that I never will. This story, however, is neither a comedy nor a memoir. It is a report on a life lived in Washington, on a time, a town, and heroine, all equally foolish. I came looking for glorious recognition, a seat in history. I was not equipped to play the power game, but have spent part of a lifetime muddling through it anyhow. Of course, this makes me the rule rather than the exception. I am not of the right sex to wield great political influence, but my gender has permitted me to consort with those who do. I have an eye for nonsense and hypocrisy and a sheer physical stamina needed to endure total exposure to Washington. This qualifies me as much as anyone to judge a local character to the point of absence of it. I level the incriminating finger at my own follies too. I'm responsible for my shortcomings, evil deeds, and ignoble thoughts. While these simple admissions set me aside as Washington oddity, you must bear in mind, given the chance, I would likely make the same mistake all over again. I am that much one of the crowd. I know it was sagely written, and each life must get some rain, and though I seem to log more time with an umbrella than the girl on the Morton salt box, I have loved practically every minute of Washington. I have few complaints and contend no apologies. Living among politicians has had an enormous effect on me, and what I'm prepared to think in reverse is true. I believe the city and I were well met. It is right that I should recount Washington in the bizarre period of the 1960s. We somehow deserved one another. This sounds funny. So there you go. Book number 5. Book number 6. We have Black, White, and Jewish by Rebecca Walker. This is a 2001 copyright, and this is what it's about. The Civil Rights Movement brought author Alice Walker and lawyer Mel Leventhal together. In 1969, their daughter Rebecca was born. Some saw this unusual copper-haired girl as an outrage or an oddity. Others viewed her as a symbol of harmony, a triumph of love over hate. But after her parents' divorce, leaving her a lonely only child faring between two worlds, and only seemed to grow further apart, Rebecca was no longer sure what she represented or even who she was. In this book, Rebecca Leventhal Walker attempts to define herself as a soul instead of a symbol, and offers a new look at the challenge of personal identity in a story at once strikingly unique and truly universal. Boy, this looks like a really good book, too. So there's book number 6. Book number 7. We have Please Stop Laughing at Me, One Woman's Inspirational Story. And this is a 2003 copyright, and trust me, we can all learn something from these types of books. While other kids are daydreaming about Dan's first kisses in college, Jodee Blanco was trying to figure out how to get from homeroom to study hall without being taunted or spit upon as she walked through the halls. This powerful, unforgettable memoir chronicles how one child was shunned and even physically abused by her classmates from elementary school through high school. It's an unflinching look at what it means to be an outcast, how even the most loving parents can get it all wrong, why schools are often unable to prevent disaster, and how bullying has been misunderstood and mishandled by the mental health community. You will be shocked, moved, and ultimately inspired by this harrowing tale of survival against unsurmountable odds. Insurmountable. This vivid story will open your eyes to the harsh realities and long-term consequences of bullying and how all of us can make a difference in the lives of teens today. That sounds like a very intense book. Love it. That was book number 7. Book number 8, we have The Biological Basis of Religion and Genius by Copi, Krishna. And this is a 1972 copyright. And this is what it's about. Ever since Galileo, there was a deep estrangement between the scientific and religious communities, with the debate polarized in either or propositions. Now, Gopi Krishna, an inspired scientist philosopher from Kashmir, India, forges a working alliance between these two worldviews to effect the means of recognizing man's next revolutionary leap. This work is an exposition of Krishna's idea and the phenomenon of Kundalini, a Sanskrit term meaning coiled fence force or energy originating at the base of the spine. That's interesting. Is an evolutionary mechanism in man that Charles Darwin and others sought and failed to find. The awakening of the psychological mechanism through the techniques of yoga and other suitable disciplines, and others believe, produces a scientifically measurable biochemical essence that is responsible for the phenomenon of genius as well as for the process of evolution in man. If the current and planned experiments of the scientific community prove Krishna's theory to be physiologically founded, then these intellectual and spiritual heights, historically the gift of a very special few, will fall within the reach of mankind. The book includes an analysis of Gopi Krishna's thought by process. Carl Friedrich von Weizsäcker, director of Max Planck Institute for Natural Science in Starnberg, Germany. So there you go. Book number 8. Book number 9. We have Daughters of Another Path, Experiences of American Choosing Islam by Carol L. Anway. This is a 1996 copyright. That's what the book looks like, and this is what it's about. The rapid growth of Islam in America's current phenomenon. Why are our American daughters leaving their Christian backgrounds and choosing Islam, a religion that requires discipline, submission, and being different? Daughters of Another Path reveals some of the reasons and thought processes that led these daughters into a new journey in their spiritual life. You will experience some of the hurt, frustration of parents and families as they deal with their daughters choosing another path. Yet it is a heartwarming book by a non-Muslim mother telling her story of reconciliation with her own daughter's conversion to Islam, and includes stories of 53 other American women who have chosen Islam. That sounds interesting. Book number 9. And the last book of the day, we have A+ certification for Dummies. This is a 2004 copyright, and this is what it's about. Here is the exam 220-301 test prep guide you've been waiting for. An economical for dummies books. Well, there's no software in here. It's just the book, so it must have came with the disc, but it's not here now. That actually makes studying fun. Prepared by a CompTIA certified expert and packed with proven tips and practice exams is all you need to get up to speed on the core hardware and operating systems technology and pass the test. So there you go. You got A+ certification for dummies is number 10. So with that, whatever time zone you're in, I hope you're having a great one. Don't forget, all these books were $2 each, which is not a bad price considering some of these were really high. And with that, you get in touch with me. Everything will be listed in the description below, and I will see you soon. Bye.